Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome to my channel. Today we are doing my October TBR. If you have seen one of my previous TBRs before, you know that normally I pick prompts out of a jar and I usually pick about 12 of them, and that just helps guide my TBR. In October, however, we're going to be doing things completely different because October is the month of readathons. I've seen some other people talk about how October and spooky season has an oversaturation of readathons. And look, fair, absolutely. But I enjoy participating in as many as I possibly can. It is like the one time of year that I will cram all of the readathons together and try to participate in all of the seasonal activities. That means that for this TBR, we are going to try to combine two readathons. First is Blackoweenathon, which is created and hosted by Bree from Locked Booktition. She went so above and beyond with this readathon. There's not only a map, but there's like all these different locations on the map with 6 different prompts in each of them. There's multiple co-hosts, there's group books. There is so much packed into this year's Blackoweenathon. I am not going to be following the map or the prompts, so I have a whole list of books that I want to read for Blackoweenathon instead of letting the prompts guide my books. I'm going to do it the other direction and read the books and see what they fall into. And I'm going to see which location I end up at based on those books. So that's how we're going to do that. And then the other one that I'm kind of mashing this together with is Becca's Bookopoly. This is my favorite readathon to do every single year. So I am going to slice in little clips of me rolling the dice. And the dice had ideas of their own for this readathon. We're going to go through each of these. We're going to see what prompts come up. We are going to try and pack as many of the Blackoweenathon books into my TBR as I can, as well as all of these and a list of additional books that I have. This every single year is one of the most absurd TBRs that I build because I try to cram in every single potentially spooky book that I can. We'll see how this goes, but for now I'm going to pop it over to me rolling the first prompt. So I also have my laptop here because I haven't actually looked at what some of these prompts are. I rolled everything and I wrote down everything that I rolled, and now we're gonna look at it together and see what these mean. So the first one that I got was Green, which is pretty straightforward. It's a book with a mostly green cover. The best that I found is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. You might argue that this isn't mostly green, but it's pretty green, so that's what we're gonna go with. I am reading this for a video. I feel like this book went around everywhere last spooky season, and now the sequel is coming out, and I feel like it's making a reappearance in everyone's TBRs. I know almost nothing about this. I know that it is fantasy, horror, gothic. And I think there might be a romance element to it. It says a lushly gothic fantasy about a maiden who must unleash the monster within to save her kingdom. But the monster in her head isn't the only threat lurking. Let's see what I got for roll number 2. Roll number 2 was Are We Afraid of the Woods, which I have no idea what that prompt means. Apparently these are all based on Taylor Swift songs, which I think is super funny. It says read a book set in the woods, forest, or a rural country isolated location, or a book with trees on the cover. Okay, this one was weirdly difficult. My first thought was to do A House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. However, I think I'm gonna do Surrender to the Moonlight by Drea Anderson. This is the author of One Night, One Bite, which was one of my favorite books that I read for one of my last vlogs, and I really want to read some of her other books. This not only has trees on the cover, but I believe that this is a shifter romance, which most likely means that there's going to be a lot of woods in it. I think that the heroine is part of a family that's cursed with magic. And like I said, I think it's shifters. Surrender to the Moonlight leads me to believe that it's shifters. Plus this one does fit for the Blackoweenathon. Let's get to roll number 3. Roll number 3. What a ghostly scene. Read a book that features ghosts or a haunted house. And I know exactly what I'm going to read for that. The Silence of the Dead by Simone St. James. All of Simone St. James's books are slightly paranormal. I assume this one features a haunted house. I also could have gone with either Ghost 19 or The Haunting of Marie Claire, since I think both of those also feature ghosts. But I have this one right here. So this is the one we're going to go with. I think Berkeley was re-releasing Simone St. James's earlier books to kind of like match her other paperbacks. And they very kindly sent me this one. And I am very excited for it because Simone St. James is one of my favorite like mystery thriller authors because she does play with paranormal elements. On to prompt what? 4? This is where I started to question everything. We have Nothing Better Than Revenge is, I assume, a book about revenge. Read a book with a revenge plot. Rather than finding one of the bajillion books that's on my TBR that deals with revenge, oh god. I'm actually going to go with one of the rereads I need to do, and that's The Beautiful by Renee Audier. I don't know if you would say this book in particular deals with revenge, but this series as a whole is completely about revenge. If you haven't heard of this series somehow, this is a YA paranormal fantasy romance historical that is set in what, like the 1800s in New Orleans, and we are following a heroine who is fleeing something that happened in Paris. I believe she's French, and now she's in New Orleans to try and restart her life. She ends up meeting this group, I guess, of kind of shady people. And she gets drawn into the paranormal underbelly of New Orleans. There's vampires and other paranormal beings that I don't want to spoil in case you haven't read this series. I know that this series got so much flack when it came out because everyone said it wasn't paranormal enough and there wasn't enough vampires. But I promise you, if you get to the end of this book, it is very paranormal. The rest of the series is extremely paranormal. Let me clarify. They don't acknowledge the fact. It doesn't outright say that they're vampires until the end. You as a reader know that they're vampires. I don't want to spoil why it's revenge or in what way it's revenge because, like I said, I can't remember if you know in that first book or not, but the whole series, 100% about revenge. Next prompt. And this was when I started to question whether or not my dice were weighted, because what are the odds that I got all 4 Taylor Swift prompts right in a row? They're burning all the witches, even if you aren't one. A book featuring witches, the occult, cults, or rituals. I have no idea why this happened, but I know what I'm gonna pick. It's one of these two. So this one is actually about like sorcerers, I believe, but then we also have the Book of Witches, which feels appropriate for this prompt. So we're gonna go for it. This is following a whole bunch of different authors, and there are quite a few BIPOC authors in here as well. So I feel like this is a good one. I really wanted to get some anthologies onto my TBR because last year I read The Gathering Dark, which was a folk horror anthology, and it was one of my favorite like spooky books of the entire season. And so I really wanted to get some short stories because horror is the only type of short story that I seem to really love. So I knew that I wanted to get quite a few. This is obviously very long, but I'm most likely going to break this up and kind of tab it and then read a short story or 2 a day. Then I got spoopy, which, I mean, if you don't know what this is, she did explain it in here, but essentially it's cute spooky. Things that are spooky but not scary, such as kids' Halloween movies. So I know exactly what I'm gonna go with, which is Empty Smiles by Catherine Arden. I put this on last year's spooky TBR and I didn't read it. So we're gonna read it this year. This is the fourth and final book in the Small Spaces series. It's teeny tiny. I don't know why I haven't read it. This series is 4 books long. Each one follows a season. So book 1 is set in fall, then you have winter, spring, now we're in summer. And in book 1, our heroine and her 2 best friends learn about this creepy scarecrow demon dude, and they end up ruining his plans in book 1, and he keeps coming back. Book 2 is my favorite. It was fucking terrifying. It's one of the creepiest books I've ever read, and it's middle grade. So I'm excited to give this one a try. I have no idea what this one follows, except for the fact that it's clearly set at a carnival or something, and clowns scare the absolute shit out of me. So that should be fun. Next prompt. Once again, Betrayed. We got Daphne du Maurier, which I have read. Rebecca. Why did I forget that? She wrote Rebecca. It does say you can read a book by this author, but there is a prompt that goes along with it. Queen of dark, haunting, and atmospheric. Read a gothic story. So I have 3 options. Gothic folk horror is my jam. That's kind of where I found my stride in horror books. So my 3 options are Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. I am so sorry if I mispronounced all of that, but this is vampires, historical, gothic fantasy with slight romance in it. I do have this on audio through Libro. It says it's a supernatural western. I did not read The Hacienda, but I have heard really, really good things. The other option I have is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, which is a grim gothic set in a small town haunted by secrets. And then the last one is Diavola by Jennifer Marie Thorne. This doesn't come out until March of next year, but it is a gothic horror. It says, may invoke feelings of irritation, dread, and despair that comes with large family gatherings. I think I'm gonna go with Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. 1, because I have an arc of this, and so I feel like I should prioritize the books that I have for review. And 2, it actually says in the little blurb, the word gothic. So that's the one we're gonna go with. Like I said, I believe this one is a haunted house sort of deal, set in a small town, haunted by secrets that can't stay buried, and this sinister house that sits at the crossroads of it all. I have this on audio as an arc, so I'm gonna read that one. This one is also for a video, by the way. So the next prompt. Another double. This was pretty much when I knew that this was over for me. Pumpkin Spice. No idea what this prompt is. It says a spicy book, a book that you're excited about. You might be on an anticipated release or contain a favorite trope or, a spicy book. I'm gonna go with the spicy book one because I do have romances on this TBR and I haven't gotten any of them onto this TBR. So the first one I'm gonna add is Charming as Hell by Sarah Blue, which is the next book in the Charming. I have no idea what the name of the series is called. Book 1 was Charming Your Dad. Book 2 was Charming the Devil. And I believe, my fingers are crossed that this is going to be FFM. I'm really hoping this is the throuple that was originally introduced in book 1. Unfortunately, that is not who this follows. This is a Why Choose romance featuring Mara, who is the devil's daughter. That's what we're gonna go with for Pumpkin Spice. Then we had Jigsaw, which I've never seen these movies. I'm not a horror person at all. Everything scares the utter crap out of me, so I've never seen this. Do you want to play a game? A book that features a game, trial, or tournament. Okay, so I finally found one that fit. I thought that this was going to fit it but it would be a bit of a stretch. I do have Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. I added this to my TBR kind of at the last second because I was looking for some more black horror thriller-y things that didn't have romance in it, because I do want to make sure that I'm reading some other stuff as well, and pretty much everything I had was romantic suspense or paranormal romance. I think I have this one from Penguin Random House Audio available, I think. If not, I will just get it somewhere else. But this one obviously has the word game in the title, but the first little like blurb section says, a black teen desperate to regain her Ivy League acceptance enters an elite competition only to discover the stakes aren't just high, they're deadly. That fits the prompt perfectly, and it actually has really good ratings on Goodreads. The next prompt is a chance card. The chance card I always get backwards from the community shelf. The community shelf one is to pick a prompt out of this jar, and the chance cards are to pick one of these. I only have 4 of them because I was like, what are the odds I even get a chance card? Joke's on me. So I think all of these are Blackoweenathon books. Sinful Vow by Asia Monique. This is a romantic suspense that I have had on my TBR forever. I know Heather from Kia Booktubes loves this series. I'm pretty sure that Ray from Bookbar Chronicles has read and loved this series. Pretty much everyone I know loves this series. So I'm really excited for it. I just haven't prioritized it for whatever reason, and now is the perfect time. So next prompt is highest rated. Okay, here's the thing. I always cheat on these because I'm not just going to read like the highest rated book on my want to read shelf. First of all, I add in like a lot of books that haven't come out yet. So that throws off all of like the highest rated, like this one. This is an untitled sequel. Like I'm not obviously going to read that. Same thing with like The Bone Collector. That's on my TBR, but it hasn't been released yet, so that 5.0 is totally cheating. All right, here's what's gonna happen. I am gonna pause and I am going to choose a couple of books that have been out about the same amount of time, and then we're gonna see which one has the highest rating. Okay, so I grabbed some books that I had written down for my Blackoweenathon list, and I haven't checked to see what the ratings are yet. So first we have The Gatekeeper by K. Alex Walker, which is, I believe, a paranormal fantasy about gods, which has a 4.42, which is really high. Then we have Lured by the Dusk by Angela J. Ford, which is Pied Piper meets Dracula. This has a 3.77, so that's not it. Then we have The Grim Reaper's Lawyer by May Monique, which I saw going around everywhere, I think last year. This has a 4.10, which is still really high, but not as high as The Gatekeeper, although with far more ratings. Then we have Coveted by Christina C. Jones. Has almost the same rating. It's a 4.40, which is the next book in her paranormal romance. I think this one's all about vampires, if I'm remembering correctly. And then lastly, we have Ante-Up, which has a 4.54, which is going to be the winner. This is a romantic suspense that I had never heard of, but I knew that Christina C. Jones had a couple of paranormal romances. So I went to her author page and I saw this romantic suspense and I was like, well, that's getting added. And I'm pretty sure that this one is a kind of intense. Was reading through some reviews here and it says this was a little darker and grittier than I was expecting. So I feel like that's perfect for this. So as we're gonna go with, I'm not even gonna read the synopsis because I don't want to. And then the next prompt. We are all the way back around again, and now we need to find an orange book. Okay, so I think for this one, we're gonna go with another Simone St. James book, because I don't have any other books that are even remotely orange. So I guess we're gonna go with The Haunting of Maddie Clare. This one's set in the 1920s, and I believe this one is also a like haunting ghost haunted house sort of deal. I'm sure I had other books that are somewhat orange. I just don't know what they are. And I've been filming, in all honesty, for a very long time. So that's what we're gonna go with. The next prompt. So another author one. So this one says, horror royalty is a fitting name. Read a book that has royalty court themes or setting with a royal word, e.g. throne, palace, king, queen, court, etc. I'm gonna get another reread on here, and I'm gonna go with book 2 in the Fortuna Sworn series. I talked about this in my fall TBR that I need to reread some of these books, and I decided not to reread book 1 because I've read it so many times. But I'm going to pick up at book 2 because I think I remember everything that happens in this one, but I'm going to refresh my memory. This has to do with the Fae court, and Fortuna is becoming the queen. So this works perfectly for this. This is a paranormal romance series following a heroine who's a nightmare and can use people's nightmares against them. And she gets pulled into Fae politics in order to save her brother. And there's a love triangle and a lot of things going on, but a true love triangle, which is always interesting. The next prompt. And like I said, I purposefully didn't make many of these because I was like, what are the chances? And then I got a freaking another one. So we're gonna go with this one. Well, that worked out. This is The Grim Reaper's Lawyer by May Monique. I have no idea what this is about. So the start of the synopsis says, when having to decide between spending her afterlife in hell or as the Grim Reaper's lawyer, it's not even a hard choice. Of course she'd choose hell. That sounds hilarious. I'm sure this isn't like at all spooky, but I feel like it fits the vibes. And since I do have some spooky horror things on here, I am going to want these types of books in between so that I have a good mix of things. And then on to our final prompt. We got pumpkin spice again. So I got 2 chances and 2 pumpkin spices. I had some doubles. I had 3 doubles. I had like a dozen 10s. It was a weird one. For this one, I'm gonna go with Hollow by C.M. Nascosta, which is a 2-part Headless Horseman romance. There is one that is MF and then one that is MMF. And I am here for it. I talked about this also in my fall TBR, I believe. But I try to read a Headless Horseman retelling romance every single spooky season, and I'm so ready for it. That was a lot of books. That was 15 prompts, and I still have this whole stack. The ones I know for sure I'm going to read, I am for sure going to read The Grimoire of Grey Fates, because this is another anthology that I want to read throughout the month. It will also fit for Blackoweenathon. And then my rereads. I need to reread Hollow Star series. I need to reread the rest of the rest of the Fortuna series. So my reread stack is huge. On top of these ones and these rereads, I still have a lot of books for videos. So yeah, hopefully I have like the world's most amazing reading month. That is going to be it for this TBR. Let me know what you are participating in this month. If there's any other readathons that you're ridiculously excited for, leave them down in the comments. I would love to check them out. And let me know what books you are most excited to pick up this spooky season. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.